I'm very happy today that we have Xinwo, who's the program director of CarbonX program at Tencent, and Diana, who's kindly put the link together between us. So I'm happy that we're hosting this together. And then I can see from the chat that we have already 15 people in the room. So I'll just hand it over to Xinwo to give a one sentence introduction and then pass over to Diana as well.
Yeah, so Xinwo here from Tencent, basically leading the CarbonX program. Probably some of you have already known this, right? This is a program that provides tens of millions of US dollars in non-dilutive, non-commercial grant funding to advance like things like CDR, like points or CCUS and CCU and LDES technologies. Looking forward to diving deeper. And also, if we can have some of the audience to actually apply to the program and after the session, that would be great. So that's the whole purpose of doing this. And we have May 31st as a deadline, right? So it's only 11 days to go, but it's not too late. The time actually required to submit an application is probably about, I would say, 2 to 3 hours, right? So it's not a huge burden to actually, you're not required to fill out a 20, 30 page proposal, right? All you need to do is fill out the questionnaire. Normally, it probably takes a few hours.
Thank you. So for people who don't know us, I've spent 10 years in investment bank, and now I'm doing a carbon financing platform. And then I got to know Deanna because she's kind of working in the same field for first of a kind financing. So hand it over to you.
Yeah, I just help companies raise money for folk projects, and the more non-dilutive funding you can get, obviously the lower cost of capital your overall project is, and that's extremely beneficial, especially in this time. So when Xinwo came to me with this program that he's leading, it sounded like just a great deal for a lot of CDR developers that are out there. I won't speak too much. Let's just get into the session.
Thank you. Now let's get started. First of all, I want to know, where are you joining us from? If you can go to the Menti and put a ping on the map. There's somebody in Japan. People are very enthusiastically typing out at the live stream chat, but kind of slow to find out where they are on the map. Let's give them a little bit time. There's 7 people still remaining. Once you finish, please give us a like. Right, it looks like it's a global audience. I think for the people who haven't been able to put a pin on it, it's roughly on those locations. So that's also the purpose of the call, is to bring people from around the globe. I really want to thank Xinwo also after a long day to stay at time 9 p.m. already to give us this webinar.
If they're from someone from Japan, it's probably like 10 p.m.
Where are you on your CarbonX journey? I believe this is a new audience. Maybe some people will have just come across this. So it will be helpful for us to understand where you are. So this is more helpful as a info session.
That's great. We have people across all spectrum. So especially if we can convert the top 2 buckets of people to actually apply, that would be great after this session.
Yeah, that's the goal. We're going to have more applicants for this. While we're waiting, maybe Xinwo, can you share, like when you're doing the other webinar or info sessions, what is the split when questions like this?
This is actually the first time we're doing this super interactive webinars. Some of you probably have joined or have heard, right? We have done several webinars in the past 2 months. The first one was with CDR FYI, with Alex and team and Robert. We also did one with XPRIZE. We are going to do one with L Miners this Friday. All of these are kind of Zoom sessions where we just gave a 10 minutes presentation, 15 minutes presentation, then we go into live Q&A. So we didn't have this kind of interactive questions before, but this is great. It's great to see people's where people are right now.
Yeah, this is amazing. I think it's just to give a different type of interaction for people. At the same time, we get real-time feedback. I think we're almost there for people's time. And then the next question is a 2 truths and a lie. So here we have 8 players ready. What's true and what's not true about the CarbonX program? It seems like most of the people have selected the correct answer. I will hand over to Xinwo to maybe elaborate each one of them.
Yeah, so the first one, as we mentioned at the very beginning, right? So we're offering non-dilutive grants. This is not a equity investment program, right? This is actually all of the budget comes from a non-commercial pool of Tencent, which we committed like 4 years ago. The whole funding pool is actually about $15 billion, right? But that covers a wide range of topics from healthcare to education to climate tech. And CarbonX funding comes from that non-commercial pool. So it's actually totally separate from Tencent corporate. So we offer non-dilutive grant funding. That's the first one. Second one is maybe not applicable to this audience, right? I think many of you probably have not applied before. So because this is the second time we're doing CarbonX, and the phase one participants are definitely welcome to apply again. And third, it's also kind of why also Diana is here as well, right? So the whole program is focused on emerging climate tech, right? So in the proposal, we definitely want to see innovation in your proposal, right? It's not something like, oh, I have done this already, one pilot in country A, I just want to do it exact same thing again in country B. That's probably not a good proposal, right? We want to see some level of innovation, right? Improvements, upgrades, next-gen technologies in the proposal.
These are very good insights. I wanted to comment and add on is I only got in touch with Xinhua last week, and then I was like, this is something I definitely want to do because as somebody who grew up in China, and Tencent is definitely one of the, if it's not one of the biggest leading tech giants in China. I think the program and also this info session is to serve the purpose of bringing the program to the world, to the global audience, and everyone who's here. I hope that you can take this information away from you, even if it's not the time for you to apply this time, or if you know people who are around you who's going to apply, that would be helpful as well. If I may ask, double tap what you just mentioned about the cutting edge of the technology and improvements. Are you looking for specific technology readiness level, or it's just can you elaborate a little bit more on that one?
Yeah. So basically, so I'm not a big fan of those TRL kind of numbers. Different people actually have different interpretations of it. But basically, we're not funding lab research. Let's put it that way, right? If you're like, it's a bit that we're not funding you to write scientific papers, right? So you're not. This is not a kind of an NSF grant for you to do some lab testing in the lab, right? We actually want to fund you to build actual pilots, right, in the real industrial setting. The sweetest spot will be kind of first of its kind, right? Basically, like this is probably your first pilot outside of lab, right? But we know that there are not that many kind of brand new things, right? If, right, for example, you have done a CDR pilot before, that's totally fine, right? As long as in the proposal it has certain level of innovation and improvement in it, that's totally fine. And on the other hand, right, we're also not funding like a 1 million ton per year carbon capture projects, right, in a steel plant, or like 100,000 tons, right? That's kind of too big, right? That's kind of commercial scale up projects. So for CDR, we're actually funding a 100-ton per year, right, pilot, and for point source capture, it's probably 1,000 tons. So yeah, that's probably like a more kind of detailed explanation of what we're looking for. Yeah. So anything in between lab research and commercial scale, large scale projects probably is a good fit.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think a lot of people will have this question. You also mentioned X price, and people will have this question about like what's the difference between you, CarbonX program and X price, and also in the US you also have the I think the DOE's hub.
Yeah. X prize is really like a prize, like an award, right? So we, in the end, our funding will go towards building an actual pilot, right? But yes, the teams who are eligible for X Prize are probably like, I think most of them are definitely eligible for CarbonX. So the pool we're tapping into probably are quite similar.
I think it's a good time that we actually look at the official video from CarbonX program. I cut it the first minute. If people want to watch the whole video, it's also on the website. And then here we have a poll. What area are you putting in or exploring? Very quick this one.
So we do have people from the LDES category. That's great.
While we're waiting for people's votes, I can actually see that Alicia has posed a question. would there be interest here in the development of novel modeling solutions for CDR quantification, or is there only interest in the removal technology itself?
Great question. So we got this similar questions a lot actually. So I would say like yes, but in the condition, right? In CarbonX phase 1, which we already concluded, so we actually had a dedicated track called CarbonX infrastructure, where we are soliciting proposals exactly for this purpose. Like people are doing MRVs, doing databases, doing some online tools, which are enablers for the climate tech ecosystem. This year, we don't have a dedicated track like this, but I think you can still submit a proposal where the innovation is probably around the novel modeling solutions. But in the end, probably you still need to probably pair your solution with an actual CDR pilot, right? A standalone kind of software or like modeling solution is probably not enough. It needs to be attached to a physical actual project. But yes, I think the novel part, the innovation can be in the modeling solutions for CDR quantification. For some of the CDR types, like I would say, like especially for in-house weathering, right? The tech itself, I think the most difficult part is actually to do the MRV. Yeah, so Alicia probably just opened this. Do you want to ask?
I actually didn't open this. Maybe Lydia did it, but I totally understand your answer. I appreciate that. Yeah. So our group develops modeling systems. So what I understand from this is that the most it would make most sense from this perspective to pair up with potentially a commercial company. We work in the ocean-based carbon dioxide removal space, who is interested in actually a pilot, and then the innovative piece could be around the modeling system. Thanks so much for the clarification.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to your proposal. Yeah.
I have a follow-on question, even though I'm not working in the space, I'm also not a scientist or an engineer. Because you mentioned you don't want something in the lab or in the scientific research space. If someone is working on the quantification, is it correct to understand that you want them to work with someone who's already doing the first of a kind project if they're doing the MRV aspect?
So the MRV, so if the innovation is really around, the coordination is really around MRV, it doesn't have to be paired with a folk, right, versus kind project, to put it that way, right? It can be paired with a commercial project. Yeah, definitely. Our sweetest spot is first versus kind. Also, like different people have different interpretations of what is folk, right? So for us, it's like as long as the proposal contains some level of innovation, improvement, and upgrades, you're welcome to apply, right? Yeah, doesn't have to be like a brand new thing, right? There are not that many brand new things in this world right now. So.
There's a follow-up question. What is the typical check to support the pilot? Do you provide the pilot or you fund the current company's pilot?
Great question. So it's already like, we're getting to the kind of the overview of the program. So typical check size is probably around several $1 million, right? Some people already kind of press me up that what do you mean by several? Probably anything between 1 or 4 millions US dollars per project, right? Probably, and then we'll fund something between probably 10 or 12 projects in the end. We funded 13 projects right in phase 1, which was announced before. You can Google it. You can see the list. And then to provide the pilot or you fund the current, it can be both. We already posted it on the website. If you go to our website today, if you go to the CDR page, you will see a map of Kenya. If you go to the LDS page, you will see a map of Maldives. Right? So these are the pilot sites we prepared. Right? Actually, spent a few weeks in each country last year. Really but our previous hypo was many of the early stage teams, they have great tech, but they don't have kind of bandwidth, or they still don't have a good pilot site to actually implement their tech. So they say, hey, we can prepare the site, right? We'll prepare the land, the permit, and some resources to support it, right? So yes, if you don't have your own pilot site, you're definitely welcome to go to Kenya, to go to Maldives, go to Serbia to do your pilot. But there are so many cases as well where the team says, hey, we already have a pilot, or we already have a plan to do it in the UK, the US, in China, in Japan, in Australia. Can you provide the funding? Right? The answer is also yes. In that case, that's what makes our team's job easier, right? We just provide the grants. And you probably already started a pilot to some stage, right, or about to start, right, you have some funding gap, then we just provide the funding for the gap.
These are very useful information because I come across CDR founders. They also have the question like what kind of involvement you have in building the plant. I have a follow-up question based on what you just said. So if you're going to provide, let's say 1 to 4 million of the grant, and then you're also going to help them to build the plant, does that mean would that be considered into the whole bucket of the size of the funding you provided, or it's like on top of the already decided funding, then you also help them to build a plant?
Yeah. So basically, like that's the reason why we have a range, right? So we provide the funding based on the needs. Very initially, when I had the discussion with the team, say, hey, like, how do we design this? We can also provide a flat rate, right? Say, hey, like, it's basically $2 billion or $1 million per check. But then, like, based on our experience in phase one, you have found like different people actually need different levels of money, right? So sometimes they only need $1 million or $1.5 million to do it, and it's already very adequate, right? Then we don't have to provide the $2 million. And in some cases, it's a bit larger, and in some cases, yes, they already have existing funder; they just need to fill in the gap. So that's why we say there is a range, and then we'll provide the funding mostly based on the needs. In the end, we just want to make things happen.
Yeah. So now we have a really good split of the people who are attending the webinar. What are they building and exploring? CDR, CCUS, LDES, carbon utilization. Maybe Xinwo can elaborate a little bit more about your different tracks, what kind of information criteria, and so far conversations and ideas you've seen.
Yeah, that's probably a good time to talk about this. So yes, I actually like this format a lot, Lydia. So we don't have a deck, so we just talk about it like through this question. So that's it's very engaging. So if you go to our website today, right, it's actually everything you need. You will see the 4 pages describing the 4 tracks. You will see the guide to application. You will see an FAQ, and you will see the link to submit your application, right? It's all on the front page. It's very easy to navigate. And yes, we have 4 tracks. In CarbonX phase 1, which we already concluded, so we focus purely on CCUS. And this year we are, yes, that's exactly the website. If you scroll up, Lydia, this is from your screen, right, Lydia? So you can see, right, there are 3 buttons, right? The first 2 will link you to a PDF, and the third one, apply now, is where we link you to the form to submit your application. And in phase 1, we had CCUS, and we didn't specify details. And this year, we are basically divided CCUS into 3 different tracks. CDR, which means you need to remove CO2 from the air. Then CCUS, point source, right? And this year, we're focused on steel, which is kind of a global theme, right? If you're doing point source, probably steel and cement are the 2 hottest debate industry. And CCUS is probably a must to get steel to net zero. And number 3 is CCU, and we have a name for it called CarbonX Made. Right? We actually want to make actual consumer products using CO2 as a source. And number 4 is a brand new track we added this year, which is long duration energy storage. And when we say long duration, we mean 6 hour plus, 100 kilowatt plus LDS solutions, which covers everything from maybe like flow batteries to like compressed air to like gravity based, right? Energy storage solutions.
Yeah, I'm sure folks can go to the link and tell themselves.
Self-explanatory, I think. Yeah, you'll see the video, right? And then these are the 4 tracks, and you can click on the tab and you go to the dedicated page.
This MRV example is from last year. It's not.
So I can probably tell a little bit about. So basically, in our prep phase, prep work we did last year, we actually planned to have a 5th track, which is an MRV track dedicated. Just mostly due to our capacity constraint, right? So we didn't add it for now. But in the end, I think MRV is super critical across all tracks. We may actually do something probably more kind of a RFP type of thing when we actually selected all the 12 or 13 projects, right? And we may actually need some MRV services to support everything. But for now, I mean, if your innovation is around MRV, please do submit a proposal. Right? You just need to pair it with a actual project. Yeah, Lydia, please. Yeah, probably we can go to the next one.
Okay, good. I think now is the time to look at some of the pre-submitted questions. And I have collected 2 questions here, and then I want the people here to vote like what matters the most to you, so then we can address in that sequence. Looks like we can start from the first question. What does CarbonX look for in CDR projects? Team, ideal, idea?
It's definitely everything, right? But probably I can talk about like how the selection process actually works, right? That's really many people are curious about. We have 2 rounds of selection. Right? It's also explained in our application guide, also in the website. In the first round, which will happen online over the summer, I think the emphasis will be on the tech innovation itself, right? Less about how to actually do the pilot. I think the judges will score teams based on a number of metrics, but I think we'll put a more emphasis on whether or not there is core innovation in the proposal. And in the second round, right? So after the first round, I think the top 10 or 15 teams in each track will be selected, which will be announced in September. In the second round, which is the final round, we will select probably up to 3 projects, right, in each track. So it's kind of 3 out of 10 or 15. In that round, I think will become more of a semi-RFP process, right? Where you actually need to submit a more detailed, like 20, 30 page proposal, talking about how you're actually going to do your project. And in that round, I think the feasibility and implementation, right, of the project will become more important on top of innovation, of course.
The next question is, what trends are emerging in LDES and how can they apply to B2B, not just B2G? I think the question is from Stephen. Stephen, do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Stephen, please. Yeah.
Hi. So I'm a founder of a liquid air energy storage company. It's a spin out from a university here in Dublin. I'm a second time founder. It's always interesting to explore getting to market and getting customers. So one of the drawbacks with grid scale LDES is you have to sell to governments and it takes a while and you got to build up through tender processes. So with my co-founder, we're exploring whether there are behind the meter / B2B applications, which would be, on a path to grid scale, a grid scale deployment. So just wondered, had you guys seen anything where folks were looking at LDES in terms of how it could be deployed in a B2B context, just as it could be deployed in a business to government or a grid context, if you will?
Got it. So first of all, I think I'm actually not an expert in LDS, to be frank. So my background is really on CCS, and I did my PhD in CCS. But I do have a team member who are really an expert in LDS. He got his PhD from Harvard and working on LDS solutions. Probably the second one, I couldn't really answer, but for the first one, I think we do see a lot of innovation still coming out in flow batteries, in maybe for compressed air and gravity-based. Those are probably more kind of engineering challenges, right, rather than kind of a core science and materials challenges. If you have read our website, Stephen, for the LDS page, so the site we prepare is actually in Maldives.
Yeah.
Right. In that case, we are talking to the government.
Yeah.
So as you can see, so the whole country is based on diesel these days, 98%. There's no grids.
Yeah.
There are just 1,000 islands, right? Each of them probably has a diesel generator, big or small, right, on the island. So we actually have a chance to replace everything on one single island. The peak load is probably around the island we're choosing, 500 kilowatt, right? Not big at all, right? So, and the Asian Development Bank will provide the funding to install all the solar panels, and then we will provide the funding to do energy storage. Together, then we actually can replace the whole system on the island. But in that case, yes, in the end, it's more like a B2G type of scenario in that case. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely welcome to apply. See you.
Yeah, we certainly will. Thank you for answering the question.
Yeah, it seems like people have a lot of questions about LDES. There's another question. If on the term for pilot calculation, the project should be a 100 kilowatt, 6-hour LDES pilot. Can we increase hour of operation, let's say 24 hours?
Yeah. I mean, 6 hour is the minimum time needed for your energy storage solution, right? It's not, I mean, probably so if you say like, oh, actually your storage capacity can reach 24 hours, yeah, that's definitely welcome, right? So 6 hours is a minimum threshold, as well as for the 100 kilowatt, right? So it can be a few hundred kilowatt, right? Yeah. But once if you get it to a few megawatts, that's probably like, then our check size probably cannot cover everything, right? Then you probably need another funding source, and then we can provide a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a question about actually the same question here. Is there any geographic preferences or regional focus area?
The short answer is no, right? We welcome any team from anywhere in the world to apply. We're very geography agnostic. As we said again, this is not a commercial program. This is a purely non-commercial program, right? Welcome. The whole purpose is really to advance climate tech innovation around the world. So anyone can apply, whether you're from China, US, Japan, Europe, Africa, Latin America. So we do have teams already, right, from all of the places. And then I saw already there were some questions in the chat for the pilot site, right? For CDR, yes, we prepared a site in Kenya. For LDS, it's in Maldives, and for point source, it's in Serbia. But we are not constrained to those locations. Again, right? Those locations are for if you have a great tech, you don't have a pilot site, then you're welcome to be there. But if you already have your own pilot site or have a plan, teams are welcome to bring your own pilot sites anywhere in the world, right? So from an application point of view or from a pilot site point of view, right, we are geography agnostic. There's no preference.
Yeah, there's some questions around CCUS. For the CCUS, must the CCUS application be limited to steel manufacturing, or is steel simply the available pilot sites for development and testing? The other CCUS question is, would you guys run scale up of the indoor CCUS photobioreactor plant? And yeah, just these two persons.
Yeah, answer it one by one. I'm not sure whether where you're referring, you actually have a site which is a steel, maybe a cement plant or a power plant or something. We do focus on steel this year, right? It's kind of a global theme to decarbonize steel using CCS. I would say in the point source scenario, the only difference is really the CO2 concentration in the flue gas. It can range from maybe 10, 12% in the power plant to 12 some percent in the steel plant or in the cement plant, right? If you have a solution for point source, it should be applicable to a steel plant. So I would encourage you to still probably describe your proposal around the steel plant, but it doesn't have to be in Serbia, right? It can be anywhere in the world. Yeah. Scale up an indoor CCUS followed by reactor plant. Yeah, I mean theoretically yes, right? But yeah, we'll need to just look at the proposal, whether or not that has enough innovation in it. Yeah, but a hydro turbine. Yeah, hydro turbine is probably not a focus for this year. Yeah.
Maybe we can go through it one by one. Is there a preference on the type of CDR projects?
Yep.
Would that be a good fit?
Of course, yeah, that is the perfect fit. So the only line we are drawing is we are focusing on durable permanent CDR, which means 100-year plus in permanence, right? So DACCS, biochar, enhanced weathering, OAE, or ORIC scope. Yeah, there's no preference on type of CDR.
People have more questions about steel. Given your focus on steel, would you consider funding a CCUS project where the captured CO2 is converted into graphite electrolytes used in steel manufacturing?
Where is that question? Sorry.
It's at the very end. Chisholm's question.
Oh, given focus on steel, would you consider where the capsule is converted to? Of course, yes. Yeah, we actually, if it's a closed loop solution within the steel plant, that's actually a perfect fit. We actually want a closed loop solution, which we explained in the application guide. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're looking for innovation, which is why there's a question here. Ian said that is the fund focused solely on site technologies, or is it also open to ecosystem innovation software, etc.?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Alicia's question before. Right? So theoretically, yes, but we want you to pair your ecosystem or software innovation with an actual project, with an actual physical project.
I'm just gonna show the questions here so it's easier for people to see.
Yeah.
This question.
Yeah. Would you guys could provide funding for waste to value? Depending on what do you mean by waste. If it's CO2 to value, yes, right. That's exactly the CCU track is looking for. But if it's something else, right? Basically, like you need to have CO2 in the proposal. That's provide funding for this one. I think we have already answered, right? So hydro turbine is probably not in scope for this year. Operating for point source, well, what's the maximum CapEx threshold you should consider before signing the project to large fund? I mean, if it's 1 million ton per year, right? That's definitely a commercial scale project already, right? If it's more than 1,000 tons, right, a few thousand tons, I think it's still okay, right? It's just like maybe if it's like a 3,000 ton, 5,000 ton project, and probably we wouldn't be able to cover everything. Then in that case, you have an existing funder, right? You just want CarbonX to co-fund it. Then yeah, we definitely can consider kind of filling in the gap.
I think I got most of the question answers already. If people have more questions, we can also put it in the chat and it's easy for us to show it here. And this is a fun page. Now after 50 minutes, what's CarbonX in your own words? People put in one word for this workout. Diana said that we missed one question from Madsen.
This also get involved in data centers. So there are like basically these are two questions, right? Yes, theoretically, right? So, but it's not related to CarbonX. So basically, we have only one climate team in Tencent. We are mostly doing two things. One is to get Tencent itself to be carbon net zero by 2030, and in that capacity, data center kind of procuring renewable power for data centers is definitely a centerpiece of that work. But for CarbonX, the funding needs to be spent outside of Tencent, right? That's really for counter-tech innovation around the world outside of Tencent. What can you share about the precise technical information you're looking for in submissions, estimate models, real-world data, etc.? Yeah, please just go to the website and then you click Apply Now. You'll see a form, and also there is I think the most important part, there is a technical questionnaire you need to fill in. And in that, we probably asked about probably 10 questions, right? Yes, and then you will see like what are the precise technical information we're looking for. You definitely need to plug in some numbers, some answers, but not like detailed Excel.
I just wanted to go back to this page, even though we only have two responses, but I think it's a very good one. The CarbonX is innovative and trustworthy, and I hope we're almost at the end of the session. Really appreciate everyone to dial in and also stay to the very end for this one. I hope this is interesting and useful session for everyone. Now it's a live Q&A session, even though we've already done a lot of Q&A. If anyone wants to just turn on the camera and ask a question, now is the time. And this is the final interactive. And in the meantime, maybe Xinwo can give a little bit of a summary of the program, and also according to the questions you've just answered, what are the stuff that you want people to take away from this session?
Yeah, I saw there are people still kind of putting in questions in the live chat. Yeah. This question from LB says, what do you wish startups knew before applying? I mean, as we explained, so basically like we're looking for innovation, right, in the first round. So that's probably like something you probably want to have, basically like how different, right? What are the innovations you have in a proposal compared to what we have already seen in the market, right? That's probably the most important part. Yeah. I mean, final message will be definitely thanks to Lydia and Diana, and also like Stephen and Alicia, who are still kind of on the call, and probably some other audience. There are only two things you need to memorize after the call. One is the website name, CarbonXprogram.com. Second, the deadline is May 31st, right? But it's not too late. It only takes a few hours to fill in your application. So if you only know about the program today, you're still in good shape, right? We're definitely looking forward to a proposal in the next 10 days.
I actually have a question. I wanted to understand, what is your reviewing process? You mentioned that you have a colleague who has a PhD, and what are the experts who you partner with to review all the applications?
Good question. So we didn't show that slide. In the end, so basically, myself and the Tencent team is not the only one selecting the projects. We are actually just a small part of the whole process. As we said, like sometimes we just say this is a CarbonX program. It's not just Tencent. We actually co-launch it with a set of partners and also a set of experts. The judge committee consists of probably something between like 40, 50 people, actually. There are a group of people from academia, right, who are basically like very renowned professors in the field, who are doing research and also some cutting edge innovation in the field. And then if you go to the website, you will see logos, right, from our industry or investment partners. And each partner will send probably something between 1 or 2 judges to join the process, right? So you will have coverage from like top VCs and also some of the top industry players. Then there are people from Tencent, and each judge will have the same voting power. Yeah, in the whole process. Yeah, so it's the pretty robust process, I would say. Like, we have already done it once. It got very very good feedback from all of the judges. It's pretty rare that people from different backgrounds gather together to do this. Professors will say, hey, like they know each other very well, right, in the academia world, but this is the first time they're in the same judge panel, maybe with a top VC investor. So it's pretty fun.
This is a very interesting segue. I do wanted to understand a little bit more because it sounds very exciting and interesting because you must have been in those rooms. If you can share maybe like one interesting moment with us as a closing story for people to take away from in those reviewing sessions.
Yeah, so like for me, I think it's really like a no-brainer to apply. I would say this is also like real feedback and our real experience from phase 1. I think anyone who applied to CarbonX 1.0, no matter they got the final grant or not, still think that it's super valuable to go through this process. We also have a lot of kind of community engagement events and also some other offline opportunities, right, with many teams who probably didn't win the final award or final grant in many capacity. So for now, we kind of don't think too much, right? If you're working in those 4 fields, please submit an application. Yeah, we're looking forward to your proposals.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Then this one, I do hope we can cut some of the useful bits to share with you or share with the people who have joined this session. It'll be useful for the future as well. If people like this, and I do hope you can scan the QR code and give us some feedback. It helps us to do better format and webinar like this. This is part of my carbon removal breakfast club series that we do every 4 to 6 weeks. The previous one with the marine CDR focus one live and hybrid that Alicia is currently still here was on our panel previously. And then if people are interested, please go to our website and subscribe to this calendar. We'll have interesting sessions like this every now and then. And yeah, because it's never too late to apply, and everything at the end, even if you don't get it, it will be a useful and hopefully informative information experience for you. But yeah, that's all. Thank you so much. Thanks, Xinhua. Bye, everyone.
Okay, thank you everyone who joined. Bye bye.